So without further ado, Kathy, where are you? I love how she does this.
Good morning. We light the Christ candle for the spirit of love, the spirit of peace, and the spirit of community among us.
Yes. You know, what I thought would be nice is if everybody would like to say something that fellowship makes you think of, you know, whether it's responsibility, whether it's sharing, whether it's just something, because I have so many ideas here. It would be fun to see how many ideas of fellowship you think of that I have in my sermon here. So here's the thing. So just come on up, just make a line and just come up and say, fellowship fellowship is for me is what? Okay, say it on here so we can get it on the thing. Good idea.
Joyful teamwork.
Fellowship is
Fellowship is family.
fellowship is singing in the choir, Kathy says. Any other ideas?
Having people you can laugh with.
Jim Keating says, having people you can laugh with. That's not in my talk. Anybody else? Sharing. Sharing is so important. Vina says sharing. Sense of community, Dave says. Comfort, yeah. Comfort from Lynn. Beautiful. True. Fellowship is it's just a tremendous gift and blessing. So I have 4 categories here. The qualities of fellowship, which is kind of like defining it. The necessity of fellowship. The responsibilities of fellowship. And the blessings or gifts of fellowship. So first, to define it and to set forth what we actually mean by by fellowship, the qualities of fellowship. I want to say inclusiveness. Now, if you think about fellowship, the fellowships that exist, you know, the fellowship of the Masons, the fellowship of Judaism, the fellowship of the Coptics, there are different degrees of inclusiveness, and there are qualifiers. So the inclusiveness is not all inclusive. Like even in a unity group, we're pretty much all inclusive, except we do not include people who would exploit or who would behave illegally or unacceptably. But within the guidelines, the qualifiers of the fellowship, there is inclusiveness. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or have disabilities or how intelligent you are or how stylish you are. It doesn't matter. You're included equally. We don't want to have social hierarchies and cliques. And then another quality of fellowship is common ground. You share a common ground with those in fellowship, and it's defined by what the fellowship is. If, like in unity, the common ground is we want to grow spiritually. There is a quality of tolerance in fellowship, even though there are certain things that disqualify a person from being in a fellowship. Within the fellowship, we tolerate different things, different people, and people make mistakes, or if there's a controversy. We have an opportunity to apply our teachings, to practice problem solving, to bring forth fairness and tolerance, and tolerate different points of view and hear them. And like Vina said, sharing. There's sharing of our abundance. You know, I mean, I always say to young people, well, just come to unity so we can shower you with our abundance and love on you. And then there is the sharing of burdens as well. It's so much easier to carry a burden in life when there are, as they say in Unity, hundreds of loving hearts to share that burden with you. And then another quality of fellowship is serving. Serving, like in that song, the greatest thing in all my life is serving you. Well, you can't have an institution that is based on membership of human beings without having work that needs to be done, and the work that's done gets done by the people in the group, and that's serving. It's just a natural quality of fellowship. You have the opportunity to serve. Now, the necessity of fellowship. I was made aware of this by a movie I happened to watch this week called The Education of Little Tree. Has anyone seen this movie? It's a movie from the 90s. It's a family movie. It was in theaters, though. Yeah, and it stars one of the main roles of it. It's about Indians. The main role is played by Graham Greene. He's an actor who's a Native American. How many of you know him? Yeah, he's a wonderful man. Well, it's about a little boy who is a Native American in Tennessee in the 30s, whose parents are deceased, and he gets taken to live with his grandparents. But the authorities remove him from his grandparents' custody because there's a law that says all Native American children have to go to an Indian school. And the irony of the title, The Education of Little Tree, is that when he's with his grandparents, they're teaching him so much about how to live and how to survive and how to interact with nature and how to be whole within. And when he goes to the school, he ends up being punished for saying that when he was in a class and the teacher asked, what are the deer in this picture doing? Well, they were mating, and she didn't realize it. And he said, oh, they're mating. That buck is mounting that doe, and they're mating. And the teacher was so shocked, she struck him with a stick and sent him to the principal, and the principal locked him in a room by himself until he could understand what he did wrong, and he couldn't understand what he did wrong. So he got stuck in that room just being brought food for, he didn't even know how long. In the movie it seemed like maybe a couple months actually. It went from fall to winter. And he had been told by his grandparents and their friend, this Native American named Willow John, played by Graham Greene. He had been told by them every night at twilight, you look at this particular star and send us your thoughts and we'll hear you. And so he sent them a really desperate plea, I want to come home. And his grandfather showed up a couple days later. He says, Willow John heard you. He said you wanted to come home. Do you want to come home? The boy said yes. And the man kidnapped him, snuck him out of the school, and then kept him in the mountains from then on, and eluded the authorities. But the point is, this little boy could not survive psychologically, and neither can we. Isolated. He couldn't handle it. No one could. I mean, maybe it's just too obvious, but I just want to point out, we are not constituted to be solitary. We are constituted or created to be tribal. And in order for our tribal life to be successful, we have to have fellowship. We have to have fellowship. Now, I don't want to really talk about it. I just want to feel it. How about you? Yes? So, to feel and experience fellowship, I would like to do a little thing here that's pictured on your program folder. Now, before we start, it requires that you might have to move or just raise your hand and have people gather around you. But in a group of 5 people standing in a circle, who would like to demonstrate this with me? I need 4 more people. Just come up and stand with me here. Here's Lynn. Yeah. You remember what a hand pile is when you're a kid? There, we got 5 now. Come on up. So you stand in a little circle, and we're going to use the golden rule. I do unto others, etc. And we're going to say the golden rule, and then for God is love. And usually, we'll just start out with the shortest person. So get close here in a close circle. Okay, you do your right hand first, and you don't just stick your hand out. You go up in a big semicircle. You go, I, and then I'll go. I do unto. Wait a minute, not so fast. Each word unto others. Up over your back. As I would have them do. Now the bottom one goes up over the top. Unto me. You take your hand up the circle for your God is love. Now just hold it that way for a minute and feel that. Feel the weight of those hands and that connection. Doesn't that feel good? You did it, you did it. How many of you have ever done a hand pile before? Everyone has? Has you? No, that's the hokey pokey. No, no. That doesn't count. I used to love to do a hand pile when I was a kid. How many of you liked to do it when you were children? In fellowship, there is touch. It's got to be safe touch. It's got to be respectful touch. But the physical touch between us is very important for the energetic sharing. Now, here are the responsibilities of fellowship. To set those boundaries, to agree on what boundaries we want to maintain for our fellowship, and to hold to those boundaries, or maybe redefine them if they become inappropriate. But it is a responsibility of fellowship to maintain the safety and, I would say, security of the fellowship. Another responsibility of fellowship is holding oneself accountable, that you do your part, that you treat everyone else with the same respect and love, just like we said, and consideration that you would like. And to have integrity, which is a little bit different than holding yourself accountable. There's a standard, an outer social standard you want to hold yourself accountable to. But there's also an inner wholeness that you want to uphold. Integrity is based on the word integer, which means one whole. So your own integrity belongs in fellowship, to be honest, to be trustworthy, to keep your word. That's integrity. And then pay your dues. I have pay your dues. Isn't it interesting how a church doesn't have dues? Sometimes there are membership fees. But unity has always been established on the principle of free will love offerings. So, like Craig asked me, well, what do you charge to do a christening? I said, it's on a free will love offering basis. Our classes hopefully can remain on a free will love offering basis. Mine will. We allow a presenter to, if they're giving a workshop, if they want to make a charge, they pay us whatever percentage of what, a certain amount of what they bring in. But pay your dues isn't just money. It's, it's showing up with a smile. It's being pleasant. It's, it's coming to church with a positive attitude, or coming to the gatherings. That's part of paying your dues. Like that song, "You're never fully dressed without a smile." Also works, "You're never fully blessed without a smile." But you want to sing that for us? You're never fully dressed without a smile. That's a real positive thinking song, and that's part of the dues fellowship asks of you. So now we come to the real payoff, the blessings of fellowship. If you don't have a program, like in fellowship, we have certain rites of passage. We have scheduled activities. We have seasonal observances, all that stuff. All that stuff gives you life context. And without context, we're kind of lost. It's very difficult to find your way through this complicated lifestyle of society we have without a particular context that you believe, that you love, that you're attached to. And that gives this fellowship, I'm talking in particular of our fellowship here, provides that context without which it's easy to feel a sense of being lost. It gives your life momentum. Why get up in the morning? Why be on time? Why show up someplace at 10 a.m.? Why go to something at 5 p.m.? Momentum is like, the carrot in front of the donkey. It gives your life momentum to be in fellowship, without which you can be confused. You can be you can have inertia. You can have depression. Another thing that fellowship provides is downright meaning. Meaning for life. Our teachings provide an access for every person to discover a meaning that is freeing. It's not limiting, it's freeing. That's what our product is a spiritual teaching that liberates you to discover the power within you and to discover the mysterious splendor in which you live. And another blessing of fellowship is connection, what we just felt. Feeling connected to other people. Really connected. Not in the abstract connected, not an idea of being connected, but an actual connection with other people. There's so many folks here that are, cooperating in each other's lives, doing things for one another. I hear about all kinds of wonderful connections that are made in our family in our spiritual family. So, connection. There's also abundance. It brings abundance into your life. For instance, i.e., our free room is a source of abundance for so many people. It has been for me. I have found just the thing that I needed, and I didn't have to pay money to get it, or go around spending, gas to go around thing. And it's also a form of abundance to lighten your load, to not be burdened down with so many things that we accumulate, to have a place to shed them off too. But that's not the only example of abundance. When you come into fellowship, the abundance that you realize is because people care about your situation and are not going to let you fall through the cracks. Another blessing of fellowship is it affirms your sense of self. It affirms your identity, your sense of self-worth and belonging. When we were talking about in the spiral dynamics class, there are different models of human development, and one of those models is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that's been accepted as, That's been accepted as gospel now for human development, that the first level of need is to have your physical needs met. Second level is the emotional needs, a sense of security. Third level is a sense of belonging. Fourth level is a sense of self-worth. You get these things by being in a fellowship, by being in a community, by being in a group of people who have an ongoing journey together in which they process their lives. Last week was what you call a rite of passage when we had our christening. And that's one of the really wonderful blessings of fellowship, but that's coming later in my talk. So you can also share your burdens. That is a wonderful blessing and payoff in fellowship. You can come and express to other people who care about you what you're up against. And here at Unity, we turn that into some kind of a positive viewpoint, And we bless you to go through this journey with your burden lightened. So you not only can share your burden with others, you can share others' burdens with them. And you have a laboratory for learning love's lessons in fellowship. You have a workshop where you can take these skills that we teach and apply them to actual situations. You can, if there's a controversy in the church, if there's some disagreement, we can sit down and communicate about it and learn a lesson of applying the principles of love so that we can then have harmony restored and understanding and mutual respect for each other. And I think that there's testament to that because so many people have been in this church for so long. And I've seen us go through all kinds of turmoil and controversy, and we're still here, still loving each other, still accepting each other, and that's that unconditional love. So now where is fellowship found? It's kind of a little bit of a play on words, but I just want to say that you find fellowship in ritual, like the rite of passage we had last week, in our weddings, in our memorial services, in our seasonal services, rites of passage. We're going to have a 48-hour vigil for Easter, from Good Friday to Easter morning, and with a Good Friday service like we had last year. People just cherish that that ritual and that rite of passage, that seasonal observance that becomes part of a tradition that enriches our fellowship. So ritual enriches your fellowship. Also, co-creation enriches fellowship. It's found in creating experiences together. That's why I do use the word co-creation a lot. And here's an example of that is Autumn, I just learned this week, is planning an event for the summer called a Creative Arts Festival to be held at the summer solstice time, June 21 and 22. Is that a Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday? Friday, Saturday. And it's an outgrowth of the open mic nights and other things that we do. But it's a co-creation, and it enhances our community. And all of our events have greatly enriched and enhanced our fellowship so much. So here is our assignment. I charge you with this, to cherish this fellowship, this circle of hearts that are opening to the truth of being. Cherish this fellowship, this circle of hearts who are opening to the freeing truth of their spiritual power, of our spiritual power. So that is our assignment. I'm going to say it one more time. I charge you with this, to cherish the fellowship, this circle of hearts that are opening to the freeing truth of discovering our spiritual power. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Our statement for meditation is, one, in spirit and in truth we blossom. So let's prepare for our time in the silence, breathing deeply and relaxing, opening our hearts, letting our minds drift off, letting our bodies rest comfortably and be filled with new life. Breathing in the breath of God, trusting in the divine presence. So let us say our statement together now, together. One, in spirit and in truth, we blossom. And say it silently in your heart. For this is the time when we realize the infinite power that resides within us to love, to create good, to grow, to appreciate. And so as we rest in this time of meditation, we are at peace. We feel our oneness in the silence. And as we allow the activity of spirit to open us, as we follow a divine pattern, growing into the splendor and magnificence of our Creator, we give thanks, and so it is. Amen.